The Force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet.
Hey, what up, YouTube fam? It's Dupree, aka Darth Hater here with some fresh brand new Star Wars news for you. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. And don't forget to check out my last video because it greatly helps out the channel. So let's get into it. So these are my final thoughts and also spoiler review. Star Wars The Acolyte as a whole and the season finale. I'll give you my thoughts and everything of this last episode and the show, and then I'll go into the spoilers, which we all really want to talk about. So overall, I really did like the tone of the show. It's fresh, it's new, it's different. It gave us what we wanted to see, like how the Jedi operate in, you know, the time before the prequels or the prequel era. I would say this is still kind of that same kind of era, as it's only 100 years before the Phantom Menace. One thing about the Jedi I liked and one thing I didn't like. Like I said, I like how they show how the Jedi operate, how they go about missions. You see these missions that these Jedi go on through books or comic books. You kind of never really see it in live action aside from the prequels with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. But you see Jedi go on exploration missions. The downside of that is that kind of see a lot of the bad sides of the Jedi. Like there was a couple episodes where they were at some Jedi outpost and I felt like the Jedi there were, I don't know, kind of incompetent. Like, I don't know. It's been, 40 plus years of content and we've been told about these old space wizards with mythical powers and wisdom that are these heroes of the galaxy, and then there was some of these characters, these background Jedi that are just felt were kind of a little incompetent, to say the least. Not everybody can be Yoda, Obi-Wan, or Anakin, or Mace Windu. I haven't read the High Republic books, and I was hoping this show would make me want to read them, but if anything, not so much. For me, it was a hard read, those books, and this show with these characters, I felt like I could just go to the Wikipedia and kind of skim a little bit of their history, and then that's kind of all I really needed to know. I know how this season finale ended. They're definitely setting up for a season 2, and the showrunner Leslie Headland definitely did say that they would be doing a season 2, or it was greenlit a while ago. She's playing coy with it in a lot of recent interviews, but that's just what she said. As far as the meat and potatoes of the series finale, they stuck the landing. It wasn't a good landing, but they did stick the landing. There were a few big surprises, the big obvious surprises in this episode that I felt made the episode. The overall story, it was still confusing. Like I myself, I had to go back and watch the episode 3 or 4 times. I knew how they were ending it and what they meant to tell, and the story they meant to tell. It's just, it kind of didn't make sense to me in a sense. Writing was a little off. Those fan service moments really saved the day. There was a lightsaber battle, a pretty intense lightsaber battle, but I felt all the other surprises in the episode kind of overshadowed that. Like, it was a great choreography, great battle between Sol and Kimiri, which you wanted to see. The outcome with the twins, Osha and May, you kind of see that coming. The switch and everything. Like I said before, when we first started talking about the series, they were going to give us a bait and switch, and they kind of did. They gave us multiple bait and switches. There were the Kimiri being the stranger, and then he turns out to be the Sith or whatever. The same thing with May and Osha. I kind of figured that the bad one was going to end up being good, or getting her mind wiped, and then the other one was going to switch. And as I was saying before, like when everybody kept asking me my opinion about the show, I always said, I don't want to say the show's good. I don't want to say the show's bad. I want to wait until I finish watching the series to make my final judgment. And I've watched every single episode as they premiered, and I generally do like the show. Like, I'm not hating on the show for its faults or anything like that. This show wasn't as horrible as people say. Was it a bad show? No, but it was still good. It was a decent show. Like, I would go back and watch this show again. Who doesn't want to see a Wookiee Jedi? Who doesn't want to see Sith going up against Jedi? Who doesn't want to see prequel era with Jedi at the height of their power? Like, I want to see that. And they did deliver that in this show. And now I'll talk about the spoiler aspect of this episode, and I'll talk about them from like the least to the biggest. The bleeding of the lightsaber, like that has been something that Disney introduced into the canon, into the comic books, into the Darth Vader comic books a couple years ago. And the Legends comics, you know, Sith create their kyber crystals, the crystals that they use to build the lightsabers. They, you know, put them in the oven, and then they pour their hate and passion into the crystal for a month, and then that's how they create their crystal. In the new canon, the Sith pour their hate and anger. They bleed the crystal. The kyber crystal, in a sense, is kind of a living thing through the Force. They pour their hate and their pain into it, and then it bleeds. This was the first time we've seen that in the live action, and I know a lot of people are going to have a lot of questions about that. A lot of people who obviously don't read the comic books and always wondered how the Sith always have red lightsabers and the Jedi are blue, green, now yellow, purple, and all that. It was a cool sight to see. And the way they did it was pretty cool too. She bled the crystal inside the lightsaber, so as she turned the lightsaber on, it went from blue to red. I thought that was pretty cool. The last big thing, I've been talking about this for the longest time when I knew the show was going to be announced, that we're going to see Yoda. Yoda is in the High Republic. Yoda is 900 years old by the time or almost 900 years old by the time he dies in Return of the Jedi. So it was a given that he would be in this series. I was just thinking it was going to be a much larger role. Like, well, not really much larger, but I was just thinking it was going to be a little bit more than what we got. Like, we see him at the very end, and you just see Venestra going in, like, I'm sorry to disturb you, Master. There's something we have to talk about. And you just see the cut to the back of Yoda's head, which was a puppet. Then I'm happy they did. I was just hoping that you'd see more of Yoda, like maybe one scene of him fully talking. Like we see Ki-Adi-Mundi and another scene, a younger Ki-Adi-Mundi from the Jedi Council, which is cool, but we don't see Yoda. Season 2, obviously, maybe we can get a little bit more of Yoda in this. Hopefully, if Frank Oz is up to it, I would love to get Frank Oz's Yoda back. If you guys didn't know, Frank Oz did the voice and puppeteering for the Yoda puppet in the original trilogy and everything else. And then the big thing about this episode, Darth freaking Plagueis. Darth freaking Plagueis. Like, if you had told me a couple years ago would they had put Darth Sidious's, like, Emperor Palpatine's master in a live action TV show and kind of, you know, made that canon, I would have never believed you. Like, the Darth Plagueis book is probably one of the best, if not the best, Star Wars Legends books out there. It goes over how, the tragedy of Darth Plagueis, like how Plagueis and Palpatine, willed the Force to create a being so powerful that they could use to destroy the Jedi, and it ended up creating Anakin, and obviously we know what goes from there. But the fact that they put that in there, like, it made me so happy, because I think if they do a season 2, they could take this so many places. They could even do a time jump, which I think they're going to do, is they're going to do multiple seasons. Like season 2, obviously you have to wrap up everything with Osha and May and Venestra and Kamiri. Like, that has to happen. But if they do a season 3, like, I would love to see Darth Plagueis, the beginning of Darth Plagueis and Palpatine, or the seeds of how they created Anakin. In this series, you have the witches in this who basically create May and Osha. Like, these are virgins in the Force. They create her. They don't show it, but it's kind of, that's what they do. They create these twins. And I don't know if either Darth Plagueis learns about what these witches did, or help trains them, or teaches them, or what, but that is something I would love to see, because George Lucas set this whole thing up like years ago, that Anakin was created through the Force, and the whole Darth Plagueis thing. It's always implied. Like, even George Lucas in a deleted scene of Revenge of the Sith almost like wanted to, during the whole opera scene, wanted to make Palpatine kind of overtly tell Anakin that he was, in a sense, his father. Like, he created him. That would just made the whole Darth Plagueis thing more intriguing, and now we get that. And we see him, like, in the shadows, cloaked up, basically looks like all the fan art we've seen from him for years. Like he's a Muns are these the banking clan guys, tall, thin aliens, and he just looks like the most scariest looking thing we've seen in Star Wars for a good long time. It was essentially a Darth Maul cameo from Solo, like, but a little less than that. I was hoping we'd get like Kamiri actually interacting with him, and this also answers the question, like, who was the master? Kamiri obviously is young, so he had to be the apprentice to Darth Plagueis, or the learner, or whatever. He never calls himself a Sith. He never says Darth anything, so I think he's not at that level yet, but he really is powerful. Another thing with that, they also confirmed that Kamiri is Venestra's apprentice. They need to include that whole story arc. Like I said, I liked a lot of things. There were a lot of, weird choices with it, but I did definitely like the show. I will go back and watch it, and I honestly would give this show a 6 or a 6.5 out of 10. I can't wait for a season 2. I know we're going to get a season 2. They're probably going to announce that a Star Wars Celebration Japan and next year, but only time will tell. But anyway, guys, I have a lot more videos coming up for the Acolyte in the next few days, so stay tuned for that. Let me know what you guys thoughts in the comments down below. How do you like the series as a whole? What do you think of the season finale? What do you think about Darth Plagueis coming into canon? Like, that is a thing now. Like, let me know what you guys think about that. Will you go back and read the Plagueis book, which is really important now? Let me know in the comments down below. But anyway, if you guys like this video, please hit that like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that bell to get notifications for all my latest videos. That'd be great. Anyway, guys, take care. See you in the next one. May the force be with you. Bye.